How do you reconcile now that we have special envoys to these areas, and then we have a Secretary of State as well, and then you have a situation whereby you have the Congress looking at both situations? Isn't it kind of confusing to the recipient? In other words, the area of the Middle East, of both Israel and the Palestinians?
Well, one of the frustrations, Hillary Clinton has a lot of people who are deputies and have been nominated for high posts in the State Department, and it takes so long to vet these people, to go through their records, to have confirmation by the Senate that she basically now is, as a new Secretary of State in a new administration, is operating with a skeleton crew. When you have special envoys, they can hit the ground running, and so that's one of the good reasons to have special envoys. We need to, I think, change some of the processes that we have here so that when a new administration comes into office, they can hit the ground running with all their senior people being vetted and confirmed. This is a problem. But I think with Hillary, she's such a high-profile person. She has already, gone around to the Middle East now. She was in Asia, and she's showing that she will make an excellent Secretary of State, which is, we all know, will happen. And I think President Obama is also showing that he knows the issues and he wants to get away from some of the policies of the previous administration and show other countries that this is a new administration and we're going to chart a new path and we're going to look at all different parts of the world and decide what's in everybody's interest and not necessarily follow the old path. I think he's getting out of Iraq. He's doing it in a good way, not picking up and leaving overnight. He's saying it's got to be several months, and he's going to do that, but we're going to get out of there ultimately, and I think that's a good thing.
And now, skipping into a domestic area, if I can, but the whole thing is really interconnected. The energy problem that we have here, all connected with the Middle East and the oil producing companies. With the price of oil going down now, is there that much concentration in the Congress on alternative sources of energy?
Yes, there's concentration by me and by others because, first of all, even though the price of oil and gasoline has gone down, it's going to go back up again. There was an article in yesterday's paper last week saying that it's going to go up again. I have no doubt. It may not go up right away. It may not go up to the prices we had, $4 plus a gallon, but it's going to go up. And the bottom line is we should not be lulled into some kind of false security because gasoline and oil prices have dropped. The bottom line is we need to wean ourselves off of Middle Eastern and foreign oil. And we need to find alternative ways of getting our energy, like Brazil has done. That's one of the countries I visit in the Western Hemisphere. They have made themselves energy independent. They get ethanol through the sugar cane that they have, essentially. We don't have that sugar cane, so we have to find other ways of doing it. But they are essentially energy free. When you go into a gasoline station to get gasoline for your car in Brazil, you can get ethanol, methanol, or gasoline. And there's competition. And that's why one of the bills that I've proposed in the new Congress would mandate that by 2015, 50% of all cars manufactured in America would be flex fuel cars, meaning they could run on methanol, ethanol, or gasoline. And by 2018, 80% of the cars would have to do that. And Lester, you know how much that would cost in the cost of a car? It would be $90 more per car. That's all it would cost. So why we're not doing that now is beyond me. So I think that's something that we should do. We also, right now we talked about Hugo Chavez. He's selling us his oil, his gasoline, his oil, because he needs our business. We're buying it from him because, frankly, we need his oil. We cannot be totally independent and concerned with our own self-interest unless we wean ourselves off of oil, because if we're dependent on Saudi Arabia and we're dependent on Venezuela and we're dependent on all these other unstable countries
who are not very responsible allies,
who don't like us and can shut off the oil if they want to and try to use it as a tool, then we're not really free to make decisions that are in our own national interest. But imagine if we could get our energy from alternatives, from ethanol, from wind power, from solar power, from from all these other ways. If we could get our energy that way, we can tell these other countries to take a leap, take a jump.
You know, something that I learned about only recently is something called hydrolysis, which is another form of breaking up and using the hydrogen gas from water. And they have buses now that are running on
yes. We can do it. The problem is it's not cost effective. So right now, if we were to do it, it would cost more than what gasoline would cost. But if the government had a project, people tell me, similar to the Manhattan Project that produced the bomb, I mean, we're spending all this money on stimulus, on TARP and whatever. We ought to make part of that, and we are, by the way, but we ought to do more. Part of a way to find a way to wean us off of oil, so we can be energy free. There are plug-in hybrid cars. There are electric cars. There are cars that can get more than 100 miles per gallon of gasoline, because it's dual cars with plug-in electric, and you can take your battery out and go to a gasoline station ostensibly and get a charge or trade it in, get another one. And if we could get that done, imagine what we would save in terms of money, in terms of energy, and we would be free. We would not depend on other countries for our energy needs.
The one point that I have learned about only recently too is the fact that with these hybrid cars and the like, and the use of electric as an alternative source, is the fact that now we'll be dependent upon lithium.
Well, but if we have alternatives, say if it's lithium and gasoline and other things, we're not wholly dependent on one thing. You know, my daughter drives a hybrid car. She loves it, and she gets great gas mileage. The problem, again, with hybrid cars is that they're more expensive. And a lot of people, particularly in this economic downturn, cannot afford to buy hybrid cars. So my bill would give tax breaks to people who buy hybrid cars, and it would give tax breaks to the automobile manufacturers that make them. We ought to be smart and use the government to do these kinds of things. If people would see that they can get a hybrid car at roughly the same cost that they can get a regular car, well, they'd buy a hybrid car. But if they've got to pay $8,000 more or $10,000 more, people don't have that money.
Especially under today's economic circumstances.
And it'll take them several years before they would recover the money back in gasoline savings. So that's not a viable option for some people. But if the government gave them a rebate, and if the government gave the companies a rebate, then perhaps it would be in the ballpark and people would do it. And we ought to tell the automobile makers, you know, people say, why are we bailing them out? I'm in favor of bailing them out only because that's an important industry to the United States, and it's not just the automobile industry. They buy equipment and it runs down the chain, and if they were to go under, lots of other businesses would go under as well. But they have to retool, and they have to be smarter, and part of retooling is to buy the kinds of cars that Americans need, want, and demand. And so part of that are hybrids and all these other cars. I hope that they will use the money for these kinds of things, and that our automobile companies can rebound. And President Obama said it in his State of the Union. You know, we're the country that developed the technology of automobiles, and it would be a crime if we didn't make automobiles anymore and we solely relied on foreign countries to provide us with our autos. So I'm hoping that the big three will take this and will retool and make cars that Americans will buy and that are smart for the public.
Tell me something. With all these things you're doing, where do you get the energy? I'm talking about personal energy to do the things that you're doing right now.
Well, my wife asks the same questions, to tell you the truth, but I love it. And you know, when you were a member of Congress, there's nothing greater and better than to serve. And now we're back in the majority, so we can really do the kinds of things we like.
But the important thing is the achievement, which you have done, which I think is something that some of the younger members coming in Congress have not had